How many times have I been to LMFL? Well, I first came to LMFL in 2008 and we were based in Fronsham School in Surrey. I've come most years. I think there was one year I wasn't able to come because I was on tour in China, but otherwise most years I've come, certainly to hear Llandovery. I've been here at least 4 times. We had a course in Bristol, lovely course in France in a place called Saxophone. What's nice for me is that I get to work with students from all over the world since I've started working here. The irony is, although it's based in the UK, I've never actually had a UK student. The students have been from, well, for example, this year you got Turkey and Luxembourg. I've also had France, Italy, Spain, America. So it's interesting because the music is a global language, and so is the saxophone as a global instrument. What's nice here is that a lot of my work is at a very high level at conservatoires, and it's kind of nice to work with very gifted students who are conservatoire level, but also what I enjoy here is that some of the students have never played a saxophone before. There's one student from Turkey, this is his 2nd year, and it's kind of exciting to see how they've improved from the beginning. Because the biggest problem if you teach at a high level at a conservatoire is that you can't always guarantee how well the students have been taught previously. You know, sometimes the student has been taught by someone who isn't a saxophone specialist. They can play quite well, but they have a few sort of bad habits just because the saxophone wasn't their teacher's main instrument. So that can be very difficult to undo when they get older. So what's nice for me here is that with getting someone from the very beginning, I can give them a foundation that I hope will last them for the rest of their musical life. Why did I play the saxophone? Like many people of my generation, I played the saxophone because of this tune. That's Baker Street. So I began really because of pop music. I wanted to be a rock star, as you can see. That didn't quite work out because I went to music college and got more into classical and contemporary music and do that instead. But I still have the odd foray into pop because the amazing thing about a saxophone is that, like, I'm also working on the jazz course here. So tonight we got a jazz concert, and then tomorrow I play in the teacher's concert and I play a completely contemporary piece on soprano saxophone, completely different style. And the great thing about this instrument, it can do anything. So it suits a personality like mine because I don't like being tied down, so to speak, into one particular style. I like switching between different forms of music, and this instrument can do really anything it wants to. The hardest thing to do on a saxophone is to play quietly at the bottom of the instrument. The majority of people who play the instrument play it quite loudly. And the magic of the instrument is actually it can play incredibly quietly as well. You know, so that a lot of people think it's just, you know, like that, but you can also get and it's one of the few instruments the sound can go back to air. So it's like you take the air, make a sound, and then you can put it back into the air. It's like you're taking the air out of a room and doing something beautiful with it, and then putting it back into the room. So there's a magic about the saxophone. That's the most difficult thing to do on it, by a country mile, because it's very easy to play fast on a saxophone because the design, you can see, is perfect. You know, if you look at the back of a saxophone, I'll take this off. Back of the saxophone, there's no holes. It's because your thumb doesn't, you know, for most people the thumb is not very agile. So that all that the thumb does is push one key. Why is music important in education? Well, music is the basic thing. It's the art form, above all art forms in my opinion, that puts us in touch with our humanity. There's no other art form that engages human beings in such a full way, because it's an intellectual, it's a physical thing, and the key about music is that a performance reminds us that we constantly live in the moment. There's so much of human existence. We waste a lot of time worrying about the future and regretting the past, and what we learn from music is that all that matters is the now. And it forces you to be in the moment. If you look at a bar of music, it's constantly doing that. Educationally, well, music, some people like music because it gives them what I call bragging rights. They've got exams and then they can impress their friends and neighbours with how well their children are doing. So there is that, which it's a means to an end. The important bit educationally for me is not how well someone does on an exam, but the fact that through something like a saxophone, you can find your own personality, the music that you like. There's so much different music, so you can help develop one's own sense of self, of personality. And with that also comes self-discipline, because you must practice, otherwise you'll never get any good. And it also forces you to be honest, because in music, you have to always look at something and try and do it the best you can. And always in the piece of classical music, you must play what's written on the page. So it forces us to be honest insofar as that you have to always practice exactly where you are. And sometimes people practice because they play too fast. They're practicing where they want to be and not where they are. And the great thing about music is that it forces you to constantly look at yourself and be honest about where you're at one moment. And that sort of, as a human thing, is very, very important just for, I think, self-development. And the fact that you can get an exam as well with a good result, that's also kind of important, because we need things like that kind of approval from outside as well. So in so many ways, this instrument, of course, I'm asthmatic. I can hold a note for over 30 or 40 seconds on this instrument. I'm 50 now, but yet I still feel very fit and healthy, and it also encourages me. I do a lot of sport. You probably have seen me on a bike here. I'm training a lot for a big bicycle ride I'm doing. So that kind of idea of health and music, and the other thing about music is the social bits. It forces you to play in an orchestra as a part of a team, forces you to be part of a team, and then you start embracing it. The beautiful thing about music, of course, is that in chamber music, the people who are not very confident, if they have a solo, they have a responsibility to project their sound. And also the people who are very confident, if they haven't got the tune, they're forced to listen to someone else. So there is a kind of teamwork. And for all those things, these are not just musical things, these are human qualities that are really important. My idols, I've just got one. He's a guy called Cannonball Adderley. It's very hard to pronounce with an Irish accent because there's too many vowels. Cannonball Adderley. I think my daughter thought he was Japanese, but he's not. He's an American, and he played with Miles Davis, but he has the most iconic alto sound. I suppose actually I do have another hero who is a friend of mine, who my son is named after, called Mario Marzi. He's one of the greatest living musicians that I know, just because he's so complete. His soprano sound is the best I've heard, and as a kind of person, he's so completely at one with music. There's no ego. So I think either Mario or Cannonball Adderley would be my sort of heroes. And it's nice that one is a friend of mine's and one I sadly never met.